This is the name that, if we were having a daughter, would have probably been her name. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is one that was requested pretty much from the moment I said I was pregnant, so I'm finally getting around to doing it, and that is the baby names we love but won't be using video. So today I'll be sharing 10 names with you, 5 boy and 5 girl, so if you're curious about some of the names we loved, then just keep watching. So like I said, this is definitely a requested video, and this is one of my favorite videos to watch. I watched a lot of them when we were making our lists of names, and so I'm excited to finally be doing my own. So like I said, I'll be sharing 5 of each, and this really should be called baby names we love and might still be using. We're just not using with this pregnancy. So these names are definitely top contenders for our next pregnancy. I'm gonna share with you what our girl name was probably gonna be if we had a girl, so there's a good chance that we still might use that next time. So you guys might have a little sneak peek into future baby names. So just a quick disclaimer, I know nobody will take anything personally, but if one of these names is your name or one of these names is your child's name, don't get offended that it's on my list. I love the name if it made my list, but it just didn't work out for us for whatever reason. So I want to make sure nobody gets offended if your name or your child's name is on this list. Okay, so let's get started. I think I'm gonna just switch back and forth between boy and girl. So in terms of boy names, we never really strongly considered many other names besides the name that we chose. I kind of had this name chosen before I was pregnant. I've had this name chosen for years and years, and you'll find out why once I reveal his name. There's meaning behind it. But I wasn't set on it until I was actually pregnant, knew it was a boy, and felt like the name fit him, which I do feel like the name really does suit him. So I still had a list just in case we didn't wind up going with that name, but none of these names were really strongly considered. That being said, if the name we chose wasn't in existence, then this first name is probably the name we would have gone with because it was our favorite of the list and very well might be used if we have another boy. I should also say that many of these names on this list is actually names I love and won't be using. Ben didn't really throw out too many ideas. It was more so I had the ideas and then he kind of agreed or vetoed them. So it's more like my list, but this is a name that we both really, really liked. And the first boy name on the list is Kade. So I've actually never heard this before on a human. And what I mean by that is, I've said before that Ben plays video games, and there was a video game he was playing where one of the characters, I was watching him, and on the screen it came up that his name was Kade. And I was like, that's a really cool name. I really like that name. I've never heard of it. I've heard of Caden, I've heard of Cadence, but I've never heard of just Kade. And so that quickly made it to the top of our boy list. So if our son wasn't named what he is, then I think that this name would have definitely been a top contender. Okay, so on to girls. The first girl name I'm going to share with you is my all-time favorite girl name. If Ben didn't have a say in it, this is what our daughter would be named, but Ben does not like the name at all, so it's completely scrapped off the list. It's a little unusual. I should also say that most of our girl names are unisex/boy names. So my favorite name of all time for a girl is Elliot. I really, really love the name Ellie, but wasn't sold on it on its own, wasn't sold on Elle, wasn't sold on Ella, but I really love Elliot because she can go by Elliot, she can go by Elle, she can go by Ellie. You know, it works multiple ways, but I really, really love Ellie as a nickname. I didn't want to go with that as the primary name. I just didn't feel like it was right for us, and our dog Zoe was almost Ellie. It was between Ellie and Zoe, and so I feel like our daughter would need a name that was more so all her own. So Elliot is my favorite girl name, which is technically a boy name, but for a girl, favorite by far. If I had a choice and I had a daughter, that would be her name, but Ben is not into it at all. So the next boy name on the list is quite a common one now, and that is, it's actually two. It's Gray or Grayson. I really like Gray actually on its own, more so than Grayson, but both were on our list. Grayson is super popular now, and Gray on its own is even becoming more popular, but I still think it's a really nice name. Okay, now back to girls. This is the name that if we were having a daughter this time around, would have probably been her name. We weren't 100% certain like the boy name, but this is a name that we've had on our list since long before we were pregnant, and we've always just kind of come back to. We've always completely agreed upon liking it, and it's always just topped our list. Like, we never found something so far that we liked more. So if our baby wound up being a girl this time around, then her name would have probably been Hayden. We just really love the name. We think it sounds good with our last name. And like I said, we just never found something else that we both liked quite as much. We may have, and we still may if we wind up having a daughter, but that was our favorite name for this baby. So going back to boys, this is another name that we both like a lot, we think is cool and unique, and that is Rhett. We do actually know a Rhett, which Ben was kind of like, no, that might be weird if we named him, like if we had a son named that, but I don't think it would be weird. It's not like we're that close to this person, but we think it's just a really cool and unique name. I haven't heard it much aside from the one person we know. I think it sounds like a really manly name, which is kind of funny when it's like a little boy, but I feel like it can also be a little boy's name. Like, I can see it as being like a really playful little boy's name. So the third girl's name is one that I thought for a lot of my life, if I had a daughter, would be her name. This is a name I've loved since like middle school. I can remember all the way back in middle school playing The Sims and having daughters and naming them this name. And Ben also really loves this name, and the name is Ryan. So Ryan is becoming more and more popular for a girl now, I feel like, but back when I started to like it back in like middle school and high school, it wasn't as popular. And like I said, I always thought that that would be my daughter's name if I had a daughter, but it wound up getting scratched off of our list despite us both really loving it. Like, Ben really loved it for a girl, but we wound up scratching it off of our list because Ben has a brother named Ryan, and we just decided that it might be too much / too confusing to have two Ryans in the family, and it just doesn't really work for us, unfortunately. I still really love the name. I think it's an awesome girl's name, but for us, it's not the right fit. So here's another name that I've always really liked for a boy. It was never really strongly considered between Ben and I, again, because we never really talked about too many boy names, but the name is Roman. I think that it's really cool. I think that it's really unique, and I just think that it's different. I guess that's the same thing as unique, but it's a name I still really like, and who knows, maybe we could potentially use it someday. Here's another girl name that I really love that also, before getting pregnant, was always at the very top of my list, and that name is Sawyer. So Sawyer was actually on the boy and the girl list. Sawyer is a lot more popular, especially now, for boys. And I really like it for a boy, but I like it even more so for a girl because it is a little bit more unique, and I just think it's a really cute girl name. And before getting pregnant, that name was always at the very top of my list. Like, for a while, it was my favorite name. And for whatever reason, when we got pregnant, that name just kind of fell down the list. I don't know why. It just, this baby, even though it's not a girl, it didn't feel like a Sawyer. It was never one that we really strongly considered during pregnancy. So it's kind of interesting how that can change, because that name was always the very top of my list, and it really wasn't considered when we were seriously talking about girls' names. But I still really love it. Like, maybe our next child, if it's a girl, maybe it will feel like it fits, and Sawyer could definitely be one of the names that we are thinking about. And the last boy's name that we also talked about just briefly was the name Jorah. And so that name actually came from Game of Thrones, if anybody is a Game of Thrones fan. We just thought it was a really, again, unique and different and cool name that would be a fun name to give a boy. I don't have really much more to say about it besides we just liked it. And then the last girl name is one that was kind of towards the top of our list. It's one that I kept throwing out here and there, kind of along with Hayden, and that was Sloan. This was another one that Ben also liked quite a bit. It was one of the top ones on our list, but again, it just didn't feel right. It just didn't click quite as much as Hayden had. But it's still a name, just like the others, that I still really like. I think it could also be a really cool middle name. I was a little worried for me that Sloan was a little too trendy and different. You know, most of these names are semi-unique, semi-different, but they're not so out there. Our baby's name is definitely unique, but not out there, whereas Sloan, I feel like, might be a little too trendy, at least for me. It's a beautiful name. I love it. I think if I saw a little girl named Sloan, I would think she was so cool. It just sounds like a cool girl name. But again, it might just be a little bit too trendy for my taste. Oh my gosh, I didn't even say one of them. There's one that I was like planning on talking about that I didn't even say in this one. So I might have to make a part 2. I definitely had more girls' names than boys' names on my list that were actually considered. So that's it. Those are 10 names that we liked but did not choose. Again, like I said, I had a girl's name that was actually like really in the top for me that I forgot to put in this because I just love the other names so much too. So if you guys might be interested in seeing a part 2, I definitely could pull out 10 more names. They just are ones that weren't as strongly considered as the ones in this video, except for the one that I forgot to say. So let me know if you'd like to see a part 2, and I'd be happy to do that. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Comment down below and tell me what your favorite name from my list was, and also feel free to comment some of your favorite names, because I know when I was looking at names, I would watch these videos and I would scroll through the comments to see if I saw anything else that I really liked. So feel free to comment down below with your favorite names, and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye! Hair is always such a tangled mess. Come on. Ugh, God, I'm too pregnant. Can't sit cross-legged anymore. I really hope that I actually said 10 in that, because I wasn't really counting. I should probably count.